Welcome to New Beginnings Church, our Sunday morning service. Father, I thank you for the revelation you taught me last night. I thank you for the revival we just came through, and I thank you for every person that's helped us on this journey. Let your word come alive this morning. Give me a spirit of seeing and a spirit of knowing, so I can see better than I've ever saw and know better than I've ever known. Give the people listening ears so that they can hear. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen and amen.
Amen.
Turn to Hebrews 11 and Exodus 2. Hebrews 11, starting verse 23, and then Exodus chapter 2. Look at your neighbor and say, learning to lead.
Learning to lead.
Look at your other neighbor and say to them, learning to lead.
Learning to lead.
And God usually picks the most unlikely candidates to lead.
Yeah.
And if you watch our modern church world, I think it's funny, but you can see how men would pick people. We have a good-looking superstar athlete that gets saved, gets off drugs. 2 days later, we got him on a national stage preaching to 10,000 people. Or an actress that's a beautiful-looking girl and got plenty of money. She gets saved, and we put them on the stage. That's how men look at picking stuff. But God kind of likes to pick the unlikely characters. He's good at taking foolish things and then confounding the wise. So if you consider yourself foolish out there, or if you're called into anything and struggling, this word today is going to help you.
Praise God. Hallelujah.
And this since Dad's passing, last night's the best study time I've had since then. It was old anointing back in the study room. But Hebrews 11,
Thank you, Jesus.
Exodus chapter 2. Hebrews, the 11th chapter and the 23rd verse. By faith, Moses, when he was born, was hid 3 months of his parents, because they saw he was a proper child, and they were not afraid of the king's commandment. Verse 24. By faith, Moses, when he was come to years, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter, choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of God than to enjoy the pleasures of sin for a season. Now, Exodus. And there went a man, verse 1, Exodus chapter 2, verse 1. And there went a man out of the house of Levi and took a wife, a daughter of Levi. And the woman conceived and bare a son. And when she saw that he was a goodly child, she hid him 3 months. Now, I like the way Hebrews said that. It's basically the same verse, but Hebrews says that his mom hid him, for she saw he was a proper child. If Harlan Kilburn was here this morning, he could laugh. We had a preacher named Jackie Parkinson that preached those verses out of Hebrews. Oh, it was an anointed, powerful night. People laying all over the floor, healed, delivered, sinners running to the altar. And that next day in the meet room, me and Harlan decided, so we're going to take notes on Jackie's cassette, and I'm going to preach that message. Well, Jackie, we turned him on, and it says, Moses' mom and daddy wasn't afraid. And literally, the best meeting we ever had, people saved, people healed, people falling out, sinners running to the altar. For 30 minutes, Jackie Parkinson said, Moses, mommy, and daddy wasn't afraid. And he's the one I got just walking around with. He come around the stage. Moses, mommy and daddy for 30 minutes, and we're trying to take notes and steal his message. He never said anything, but Moses, mommy and daddy wasn't afraid.
Nothing to say. Praise God.
But I've always wondered,
Thank you,
is
Jesus.
leaders,
Thank you, Jesus.
are they born to lead, or do we develop it in them? I've seen people that I know is called into leadership roles that are sitting in prison. And they got a bunch of buddies sitting in prison with them because they're called to lead people, and they've led people into the wrong things.
Right.
I know men leading Walmart right now that are absolutely called to preach. But they ain't saved. If you go in their store, it's aggravating because they're going to preach to you about the new cake that Little Debbie's come out with. They have a profit they're getting on it. And when they moved it over into a corner, they gained $700 a day on that cake. Do you have anybody in your life that's real mouthy? Everybody's got that. Usually that person is called. Even if they're your friend and they tell you they ain't called and they preach to you all the time. I'm going to pick at her from now on. But Moses, his assignment is not small.
Right. No, it's a big.
He's not assigned to New Beginnings Church in Lingburn, Kentucky. He has the calling on him to preach to kings, pharaohs, and princes.
Amen. Oh, yes. He do.
He's not the fellow I pick.
Thank you, Jesus.
I'm going to go slow at the start of this. I don't know that this might be a series.
Thank you, Jesus.
But, give me a napkin. I spilled water all over it. We ain't no hurry. I didn't have no song service this morning. This is my, what do I call them? I get to preach longer morning.
Praise the Lord. We need the word.
But it says that a Levite man married a Levite girl. They had real good heritage, but at that time in history, any of the Hebrew people were nothing.
Yeah.
They were the trash of the earth. If you were born a Hebrew, you was born into slavery. And God has a way of looking into those places to where all of society thinks this person was raised wrong, this person was born wrong.
Yeah.
And picks people that, watch how this watch it. Can't wear a watch when I know it. Ruins them. An unlikely person. It says they got together and he was born and his mom had to hide him. The biggest thing I can tell young preachers and people called into leadership is that when you start out, you are going to be hidden. Ain't nobody going to know who you are. There ain't nobody going to want your CDs. There ain't nobody going to schedule you for a meeting. But that gift and that call that's on you to speak to kings will cause a time of hiding. And preachers don't like that. Me and Danny Ray, you've heard all the stories. When we started out, we thought TBN needs Todd Ambergy tomorrow. They missing out bad, and we talk like that. Did you hear what God gave me yesterday, Danny Ray? You know Brother Copeland needs to hear that. He'd put you on the big stage if he heard it. I've almost got a teaching on one today. But it says that Moses' mommy and daddy hid him. And that little, I got to thinking about that. when you have a baby, the last thing on earth you want to do is hide that child. You want everybody. Well, what's the newest mom and dads do? Used to, dads would get their billfold out and show pictures of their kids, but with all these phones now, we actually get to see Junior taking his first step, saying his first words.
Yeah. Yeah.
Last thing you want to do is hide that, but it says that Moses' mommy hid him. How do you hide a baby? That tells me that when the neighbors come over, Moses' mommy would grab that youngin' and stick him under the kitchen sink, or make his sister take him to the back and put him in a closet. See, when you're called to leadership and you start out, you're going to be in some dark places. Ministry is birthed through misery.
Nobody wants to do that.
No, faith camp don't want to need to write that down.
Yeah.
Ministry is birthed through misery.
Yeah.
There ain't nobody worth anything on the stage if they ain't never been through nothing.
That's right. That's right.
And then it says she hid him for 3 months, and she could no longer hide him, and she took him, an ark of bulrushes, and daubed it with slime and pitch, put the child therein, and when she laid it in the flags by the river's brink, his sister stood afar off, to wit what would be done to him. That really is hard to read. I couldn't quote it for nothing. It needs written.
Yeah. Yeah.
Moses' mommy hid him.
Yeah.
But it says this one thing. In Hebrews it says they saw he was a proper child.
Yeah.
What are you saying, Brother Todd? When you are called, you don't need a whole lot of people believing in you. You don't need a crowd. Moses had 2 people that saw the gift that was in him. And what did they do? They protected him and hid him and tried to take care of him. You preachers don't need a crowd. You need 1 or 2 people.
Praise
Yeah,
God.
that's right.
Thank you, Jesus.
And we like the crowd. We think the crowd's going to give us big offerings. But I found out the smaller crowds give to me better than the big crowd.
Amen. Amen.
Yes. Thank you, Lord Jesus.
They saw he was a proper child. And I don't know why it went 3 months. I guess he got so loud and noisy since I'm preaching to preachers. There comes a place in leaders' lives to where they get too loud to hide anymore. Everybody notices the loud voice they've got, the ideas they've got, the opinions they've got. Like Joe. Joe's a teacher. When I first met Joe, he'd aggravate the snot out of me. Yeah, if we go by, I remember going and buying 2 stromboli sandwiches and Joe teaching me about a stromboli sandwich while we're sitting there. I've got mine eat, and 30 minutes later, he's still holding his sandwich, explaining to me how this Domino stromboli is so good. And I was full of pride then too. I had revelation that I thought Joe needs to hear, so he needs to shut up and give me a chance to talk. So you had one real loud and excited preacher wanting to get loud and excited in that motel, and then you had a teacher wanting to break down all the ingredients on a stromboli sandwich. And I did him
What a
wrong.
combination.
I finally thought, well, Joe ain't going to hush, and he ain't going to eat that sandwich. He set it down and turned his head. I ate his sandwich. Something like that's happened. See, she didn't just hear God. It don't say anything about a leading of the Spirit. But at 3 months, she couldn't hide this baby anymore. And if you're called into leadership, and after you've went through a season of hiding, there is going to come a day you can't hide it no more. I wish I had a whole room full of preachers.
Yeah.
I'm trusting they're watching on the internet.
Mhm.
She makes the decision that we've heard the story in Sunday school, she's going to build an ark and let him go.
Yeah.
Praise your name, Jesus.
That would preach.
Praise your name, Jesus, that's right.
If you're called into the ministry, you're going to go to a place to where your family has to let you go.
Praise the Lord.
But that ain't my point.
Right.
My point is, and it's real big, this is close to teaching as I've ever come. This is a different anointing. She put him in the water. Let me read it again. It's very confusing read though. She could no longer hide him. That's my point. It got to the place to where neighbors was hearing a baby scream or smelling dirty diapers when they come in or toys over. If you come in my house right now, they ain't no hiding I got a pup.
Right.
No. There's toys everywhere, coats everywhere, hair on everything. She couldn't hide it anymore. She built an ark, daubed it with slime with pitch. That part sounds redneck. She put the child therein and laid it in the flags by the rivers, and his sister stood afar off to wit what would be done to him.
Praise the Lord.
She made a boat.
Mm-hmm.
It got to where I can't hide this baby anymore. It's too noisy around here. There's smells around here. Somebody's going to figure out that the proper child is in my house.
Praise the Lord.
See, it's the opposite of what we do with leadership and ministries today. She's trying to hide him and protect him, and we want to throw him into the stage.
Yeah.
I was thrown into that stage. Yeah. I had like 50 pages of notes. Thought I had an hour and a half worth of preaching, and I got up there and preached everything in my notes in about 4 minutes. Oh, yeah. Had nothing else to say. I couldn't quote you John 3:16. Once I got done with them notes, I was finished. She can't hide it anymore, and she decides she's just going to turn this thing over to God. Builds a boat, puts him in a river. Puts him in a place, I don't know, but over in them Egyptian rivers, there's crocodiles and stuff. This ain't no danger of a muskie or a largemouth bass attacking him. There was some big things in them waters that could do this man some harm. But what I heard God say last time was, when you are assigned, you will float on top of what can kill everybody else.
Wow.
Oh, you need to write that one down.
Yeah, that's good.
When you are assigned, when you are called and you are gifted and you come out of that hidden season, you will float right on top of danger. I'm not a faith preacher that's going to tell you it's going to be easy. I will tell you that the life of abundance is wonderful.
Yeah.
Way God blesses us, it's amazing, but it's very, very costly.
Mm-hmm.
We floated through dangerous places.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people loves us and believes in us now, but there's been times that a couple of these preachers was the only shoulders I had to lean on.
Amen.
Everybody else was saying them miracle stories Todd tells. He makes that stuff up. Yeah. Think of the trust you have in God. You've worked 3 months trying to keep there was a target on children, and you've worked 3 months to keep this baby safe. And now you get the idea, I'm going to put it in a boat and float it down the river. That's terrible jail time. You do that today. I'm not telling anybody to do that.
Right.
I'm painting a picture. And it says he's floating down there and his sister is watching from afar off. And I always pictured it this way, that she walks about as far as she can watching that baby float, wondering, what in the world is mom doing?
Where's it going? Yep.
Amen.
Yeah.
See, when you start towards your destiny, there's going to be people that follow afar off.
Amen. That's right. That's good.
They're watching. They don't know whether they should get involved. You know, his sister was thinking, should I jump in? Should I save him? His mom went crazy. When you get into flowing in what God called you to do, there's a lot of people at first, they ain't going to get close to you.
Yeah.
They're going to watch you from afar.
Praise the Lord.
Yeah.
What are they looking for? Same thing. His sister was watching to see, is this going to turn over? Is he going to drown? Is something going to eat him? And when you start out on your destiny, there's a lot of people going to watch you to see, is this God you talk about real?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You say you believe in healing, that don't amount to anything until they saw you be healed.
Amen.
That's right. That's right.
But once you floated down that river of sickness and disease, and everybody watching afar off saw it,
Yeah.
it gives you some weight then to look them in the face and tell them, with his stripes you are healed.
Amen.
You know, it won't impress us a bit to figure out that somebody in the, and I'll do both because I don't want no political controversy, but it won't shock either one of us that Trump's kids can go buy a car today, or Obama's.
No. Right.
We'll think nothing of that.
Mm-mm.
When God chooses people to preach prosperity and abundance, it has weight if you know that at one time they've ate an apple out of poverty.
Yeah.
Right.
They floated down that river of not enough, and they're looking far off. A lot of the people supporting us today and loving on us was people that watched us for a lot of years, seeing, is this stuff real?
Amen.
And it's his sister. I've had a lot of brothers and sisters watching. He's floating on what could have destroyed him. He's floating on top of what could have killed him. He's floating on top of what could have drowned him. But he's heading into an unusual place. Verse 5, and the daughters of Pharaoh came down to wash herself by the river, and her maidens walked along the river's side. And when she saw the ark among the flags, she sent her maid to fetch it. And when she had opened it, the baby wept. She saw the child, and behold, the baby wept. And she had compassion on him and said, this is one of the Hebrews' children.
Yeah, she knew that.
Amen.
Everyone was telling me it was Hebrew.
Her daddy's number one goal and decree in the nation at that time was get these Hebrew babies and you make them slaves, you train them up, or you kill them.
Yeah.
Amen.
Oh, yeah.
But I came today to tell you that when you start out in destiny, there's a lot of times you're going to be hooked up and side by side with who ends up being your greatest foe. I know I preach a lot of stuff that fake people don't like, but you all know I'm a word of faith. You can't make me say I'm poor. You can't make me say I'm sick.
Amen.
Usually she can tell if I'm fighting something. She'll come and say, are you sick? And I'll say, I'm turning down a good opportunity to be right now.
Yeah.
You can't make me say it though. can you? So he floats down the river, and this princess is taking a bath, and she's the kind of princess that's got helpers helping her take a bath, and Moses floats right over to where she sees it. Her daddy's the one that wants him chained up or dead.
Yeah.
When you are assigned to greatness, God will give you favor with the most unlikely people.
Amen.
I know churches today that are hypocritical. They preach hard against alcohol and talk about it, and I know for a fact that the beer joint that their uncle owned is what built their church.
Yeah.
And I know some that's in that same situation that ain't hypocritical about it. God will align you with things that you wouldn't expect Him to. This princess taking a bath. She looks and sees a little toy-looking boat. Now, what's a princess interested in that little boat for? He hadn't cried yet. A lot of preachers have never cried out yet.
Good.
See, it don't take a cry. Moses didn't need the attention of 400 Israelites that day to save him as a little baby. He just needed the attention of one person. It don't take a lot of people to get you into your destiny. You just need the right ones to notice who you are.
Amen. That's good.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
See, this was a princess, and she seen it, and it says there pretty plainly that she opened up that ark, and the baby cried, and she knew it was a Hebrew kid.
She sure did. Thank you, Jesus.
I'm going slow on purpose, because I feel like that's how I should minister as well.
Thank you,
Amen.
Jesus. Lord. Praise your name, Jesus.
The one person, the only one that Pharaoh would listen to, if it had been any other servant, if it had been any other citizen of Egypt that had found that baby, he would have had the death sentence and the slavery change. But God knows how. When nobody knows who you are, when you've been hidden and nobody's heard your cry, nobody's heard your message, God has a way of getting that one person that can affect change to finally notice you.
Yes.
Amen. That's right.
Amen. Yes.
Thank you, Lord.
I was in Kansas City, Missouri, sitting under Kenneth E. Hagin. I had come out of Clayhole, and Ruth had noticed me. And y'all know how much I preach about her and talk about her, but just the glance from that old holiness woman noticing. She come down the stage one day, and I remember her saying, "Todd, you are one of the arrows in God's quiver.
Yeah.
Don't be disappointed where you're sitting at right now, but there's going to be a day
Yeah.
when He draws you back, and when He does draw you back, He's going to shoot you to the whole earth."
That's right.
Amen.
Praise
Amen.
God. Thank you, Lord.
The Walmart incident. I stayed at Walmart 3 years longer than I should have. I was not in the will of God. And grace is starting to run out. You know, God's long suffering. He'll let you disobey Him a long time. But ever since I got out of the coma, God was dealing with me. When are you going to preach? And I'm thinking, well, I'm being responsible. I make a lot of money here at Walmart. I'm taking care of my mom and dad. I'm doing the right thing. All of a sudden, what I was good at, I was the idiot in the room. For years, they sent me all over the nation. Anytime a store was in trouble, Todd Ambergy would be sent there. And now, I can't even put a banana rack up right. See, leaders need to know this stuff. There's seasons to assignments. Most preachers I know, though, don't do like me. I'm kind of slow. Most preachers get ahead of God. If I'm guilty of anything, I'm behind him. And my buddies is out in front of him, and they're trying to finance a $200,000 project that God has called them, and they are assigned to do it, but they're trying to do it 5 years before they get there.
Yeah. I hear these now. Yeah.
Finally, my dad's in the hospital 31 days. My name is trash at the hazard wall. Oh yeah, I'm not afraid to tell it. According to them, I'm having a sexual affair with a girl in produce. She don't work in produce, but that's where we're supposedly having an affair at. Now that's rough on a preacher.
Yeah.
In my nature, I'm different. But I'm going to God, if I'm going to get accused of this, why ain't I getting to do it? I'm not like everybody else, but I'm mad over that as much as I am them tearing down my name. This would be easier, Lord, if I did some of the fun stuff.
Yeah. Seeing for a season.
Oh, yeah, people don't like to admit that sin's fun.
Yes, it is.
One of the reasons I've struggled with a temper is that's fun. I like breaking stuff. I like squalling real loud. And that breaks my heart every time I do it. But I'm supposed to be out doing this. I'm supposed to be traveling, and I'm in full-time ministry, and I'm still there at that store. I have a huge investigation. Am I doing what they are accusing me of? Get through the investigation, and one thing about it, my people was loyal. Much like church people. Everybody that worked under me loved Todd. They called 27 people in. About 20 of them was absolutely not. There's no way Todd ain't doing that. And then some of the men was come out and said, Todd, I don't know if you're doing that or not, but I just lied for you. Come on, when you've been a good leader, people will back you up.
Yeah.
Dad's in the hospital 31 days. I get through that investigation, and Walmart thinks it's wisdom to send me to Pikeville. Pikeville schedule's jacked up, dumb. You're there sometimes 15 hours. And I'm driving from Knott County. My dad's in the hospital. My name is trash. And I'm mad because I didn't get to do what I was accused of. It's okay to laugh. You've had those thoughts. You just ain't brave enough to say it. I've decided to call in wisdom. I have a friend. I can tell this now. He ain't with you all no more either. But I had a friend sitting beside of an executive at Walmart in a restaurant, and they don't know he's there. And they tell him, well, this is about November. after inventory in January, we're gonna fire Todd. He drunk her tea and didn't pay for it. My buddy's sitting there listening, and there's one, well, we need to act on it now. They're saying stuff like, if he's stealing, he'll steal a whole lot more, and that fella said, he wasn't even really stealing, said customers aggravated him 4 or 5 times, and he set the tea down. Drunk it. My buddy's hearing all that. Said, we don't want to fire him, he'll get us good inventory and food. And my buddy called and said, man, they've got footage of you drinking the tea. How many other preachers you know will tell this stuff?
Yeah.
The young ministers need to hear it.
Yeah.
They need to know that my float down the river ain't been the smoothest thing, that the giftings and callings that God's placed in me, there's been a price to them.
Yeah, amen.
Yes.
Amen.
I call in counsel, I call in Scotty, I talk to my Aunt Sheila, my mom, and I'm at the hospital beside my dad 31 days in there. And everything in my life's falling apart. 31 days is a long time for that man, dad's age to be in there. And now you're accused of all this stuff that you didn't get to do at Hazard, and now you're a thief at Pikeville. Preachers, if your life has fell apart, you probably ain't floating down the river that God designed for you to be floating down. Everybody tells me, and I call 5 preachers and ask them, do you think I can do this? Do I have a strong enough anointing? Do I hear God well enough? Do you think I can go in full-time ministry? Everybody said, yeah. I take Scotty with me to Pikeville, 1 o'clock in the morning. I called him, and he's never heard me do this, but I said, I need you now. He comes. I go in that store to quit, and that was the story. God told me, don't tell him you quit. You've got 32 years in, tell him you're retired. He started talking to me on the way to quit. He hadn't spoke to me in 30 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm tell him I'm retired. I got 32 years in. So I go in and I tell that co-manager, and I take Scotty with me as a witness.
Yeah.
Don't know I'm taking him as a witness. I just think I'm taking my buddy with me to feel better. But I walk right into the office and give him my keys. I'm quitting. I'm retiring.
Yeah.
He says, "Are you quitting?" I said, "No, I've got 32 years in." Well, come to find out, if I'd have quit, they could have took my 401k.
Yeah, there you go.
Advice to any Walmart managers out there: don't quit, retire.
That's right.
They can't touch it if you retire.
That's right. That's anywhere, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are you saying? I'm getting to a point. The last thing biblically I talked about was somebody noticing me. Well, me and Scott, and I'll tell you what else I did too, just so you know, because I don't really care. But as we're walking out, they walk you out when you're management no longer with the company. They escort you out like a criminal. And I thought, I've got $41 in my pocket. I said, Scotty, let's go over here. I bought $41 worth of tea. And I know the cameras in that Pikeville store, and I held them up, and that co-manager on third shift said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I reckon I ain't been living right since I've been over here, that I've been stealing these things." And I said, "I'm going to make that up right now. I know I ain't drunk 41 of them." Held them up where I know they's on camera. The point I'm getting to, though, and I don't care to tell all that. Preachers don't tell that stuff. I get in the vehicle, and my phone's dinging. Now, Ruth was a holiness child. Now, Clyde was fake Holiness.
Fake holiness.
Yeah.
Fake holiness.
He didn't believe in all that stuff. Now, he did it, like I shouldn't say he's fake, he did it out of love. He would do holiness things as not to offend his brother. He wouldn't have a TV that they knew about. In order to not offend, he wouldn't wear a wristwatch. But now Ruth believed something. But Ruth was the strongest voice in my life naturally. In Kansas, I'm in a Brother Hagan meeting, walks down off the stage and right in the middle of his preaching, said, "Where are you from?" I said, "Kentucky." He said, "What's your name?" I said, "Todd Amber." He said, "Aretha, we're going to meet with this boy in the back after the service." And you know what I said?
Nothing.
I couldn't think of anything. My brain wouldn't work, my mouth wouldn't work. I shook Aretha's hand and shook Brother Hagan's, and there was so many things I wanted to ask him about faith. I'm trying to do this, and I could not think. I still count that as an honor, though.
Yeah.
But many people got to go in the back room and stand and stare at Brother Hagan till it got uncomfortable. You know, everybody has these great moments that Lester Summerall walked out and called them out and laid hands on them. My moment is I stood in the back room in Kansas City, Kansas, at Hope Church and stared at Brother Hagan for about 35 seconds. But I'm driving home from Pikeville Walmart after telling them I retire. I'm floating in the right river.
Praise God.
Everything.
Praise the Lord.
On the way home from Pikeville, I get a ding, and it's from Ruth. Ruth don't have a TV. Ruth don't have a laptop. She don't have no smartphone. It's her daughter, Diane, and Scotty's her grandchild. And Diane's texted me that Ruth wants to talk. And he said, "Well, you better do it." And I'm trying to think, was there anything besides tea that I stole that I had to go back over to that store and pay for?
Yeah, yeah.
God done told on me, Ruth, and I got to get everything straight before I... Finally, I click on and put a simple okay, and Ruth says, "It's time! This is 3 o'clock in the morning." She wakes up out of bed and wakes her daughter up and says, "I got to talk to Todd right now. It can't wait." She said, "Todd, it's time. Strengthen yourself.
Yeah.
Go, Todd,
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Don't look back."
Yeah.
Praise God.
She said, "You're going to draw buckets into wells, and them wells is going to be bone dry empty, but when you pull the bucket back up, it's going to be overflowing."
Amen. Amen.
Hey!
Amen.
I'm in the right river finally that night. There ain't nobody telling me how sinful I am and
That's
false
right.
accusing me and catching me in things. But I have one of the loudest voices, most important voices in my life telling me, "Go!"
Yeah.
Praise God.
Hallelujah.
Thank you, precious Lord.
See, it's the same thing. You've got a mother that trusts God enough to put her baby in the river and let it flow through the crocodiles and through the bulrushes. If we can trust God, that we can survive the dangerous places.
Amen.
Amen.
And parents, we need to trust our kids in the dangerous places.
Yeah.
Trust the God on their life.
Yeah.
See, they may be floating where you don't want them, and they may be floating right toward the enemy's camp, and you know it, but they've been floating like that for years, and you getting aggravated and in fear about it, ain't never fixed it yet.
No, that's right. Sure doesn't.
Nope. That's right.
Yeah. You know, the greatest act of faith that I've done is when I've got in faith to where I didn't do nothing. I trusted.
Yes.
I wasn't doing the word of faith, confessions.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not preaching against speaking God's words, but a lot of what I see in the faith camp, they're a little bit in faith that first time they say, with His stripes I'm healed, a little bit of faith there. But then, with His stripes I'm healed, I'm healed, I'm healed. You can watch it go from a little bit of faith to a whole lot of fear, and they think, I'm going to have to, let's get as many people as we can together and pray.
Amen.
How many of you heard that?
Yeah.
Tell everybody you know. No. And even when it works when you're floating in a place all alone and your trust is in God. Knows there's danger here. He knows there's harm here.
Yeah.
Lord.
Yeah.
Yes.
He didn't find out about your kid's situation when you told him.
Yeah, we knew about it.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
The greatest act of faith you can do is what the Bible tells you, and we don't notice it, but it talks about and having done all to stand.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
That having done all is after you've listened to the Word,
Yeah.
Right.
after you've meditated the Word,
Yeah.
after you've spoken the Word. There comes a place to where faith rises up and you just stand there. You don't have to say anymore that my God supplies my needs. You just stand looking around wondering who's going to bring you the next check.
Amen.
Praise God. Yeah. Oh, yes.
What does me and you say? It'll come.
Yeah.
How many times do we say that? Hundreds, thousands. So this is my little faith buddy when it comes to prospering in money.
Amen.
Often. $3,000 here, $4,000 there, $700 here, and we've got $30 between us. And she's at the place now, she'll lay that, whatever the paper is down, it'll come.
Amen.
Praise the Lord.
And now we've got to the place, we're kind of excited to see how it comes.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Because we're floating in the right river.
Amen.
Thank you, Jesus.
Can you see how much trust she had to let her kid go?
Yeah.
Yes. She put it all over here, the Lord. She sure did.
That's hard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
He floats into that bath party to where this princess is taking a bath with her helpers around, and they notice him and they pull him over, and she hears him cry. She says it's a Hebrew boy. Take him into my place. I can guarantee you that was not where Moses' mom had pictured him ending up. We know in part and see in part. If the sister had followed that far and saw, oh no, Pharaoh's daughter has got my brother, they would have thought life is over for him. He's going to be killed or he's going to be a slave. And that's what parents say about their kids today. He's running around with the wrong crowd. He's in with the wrong bunch. He ain't never going to amount to anything. If you say that,
What's going to happen?
that's what they get.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
The reason your youngin' has been in that 20 years is you have been talking about it 20 years and talking to them and telling them, you don't need to be hanging out with so-and-so, they trash.
Now, your words you justified by your words you condemn. That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
See, your words are set up like a court system.
Your oaths.
All of heaven and all of hell considers the things you say to be the judgment that you have made about the matter.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's good.
Oh,
Yes,
yes,
it
it
is.
is. Yes.
That's very good.
Praise God.
Angels and devils are both standing by, watching and listening. The Bible tells us that every idle word we speak, we are going to give an account on it on the day of judgment.
That's what it says. Yep.
What's idle? If you've ever rode in a boat,
Wasted.
there are idle zones.
Yep.
No wake zone.
Right.
You get above idle speed, you get a ticket.
Yeah.
Or what if we parked one of your big trucks out here right now and let it idle?
Just wasted.
What is idle? When you're not using
Yeah.
the full potential of power that that truck has.
Yeah.
That truck capable of hauling a lot of oil. That boat's capable of going 70 miles an hour. Idle is not using
Yeah.
the full potential.
Yeah.
You're going to give an account of words that are not being used to their full potential.
That's the truth. Praise the
Big.
Lord. Thank you.
Woo!
Yeah, that's big. Yeah.
Wow.
Ain't no doubt Moses, that ain't where she intended on him landing. And I came to tell you, the path of leadership, a lot of times God takes you strange places, because in those strange places, you figure out how to minister to strange people.
Yeah. True.
Yeah. See, I'm thankful for the holiness days, because when God really intends on me being strong, I ain't afraid of nobody.
Right.
Because I used to call every one of you Jezebel whores!
Yeah.
All of you. Was that a good place? No! Was I right? No! But I was learning.
That's right. Yeah.
I knew I was making some of them places mad. I was hurting feelings. I knew. But now, when I really get a word from God, I don't care if it makes you mad or not. I don't. I've already been there.
Yeah.
Right.
I floated that river.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And God taught me better through her. Preacher preaching a message on Jezebel one day, and I realized, well, I'm going to hit him in the mouth. He's preaching about my mom. Well, if I can figure out for sure that he did say that about her, I'm going to bust him right in the mouth. I'll kill him, preach his funeral, and smile while I sit in prison.
Yeah. That's right.
That's my mom. You've heard the watch story on Dad. And when I preach this, I'm not talking Clyde and Ruth. They wasn't mean to us. But everybody they fellowshipped was a Pharisee and a Sadducee ministry team. You all couldn't figure out whether wearing hair bows was right, whether letting your hair be straight and long, or putting it up in a bun. You all argued over whether a necktie was right or you had to have one. You all preached about open-toed shoes. Yes, I'm crying out to you all. Let God's people go.
Yeah. Amen.
He floated right into Pharaoh's daughter's house, and she heard him cry and told him to take him back to her place. That's so good. The devil is going to fund your training.
Good. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. This was the number one enemy. This was more dangerous than the crocodiles. This was more dangerous than the piranhas. This was the number one enemy.
Yeah.
It's even better. That little princess believed that a baby ought to be fed breast milk.
Yeah.
I do too. Although we had problems with that in life. But think about this coming from my background. Cow milk is created to take a little bitty calf and make it into a big cow.
Cow, that's right.
See, I could go real hard right there on you. Wonder why you look like a big cow. You guzzling that stuff God created to raise a cow. It's the truth. What was that designed to do? I floated in them wrong crowds, but I realized this little lady is the furthest thing from Jezebel.
Yeah.
I got to look at who Jezebel is.
That's right.
It's a woman that don't like a man to tell her anything.
That's right. That's exactly right.
She's got her own ways and opinions. She's got that.
How that them religious churches, that was everybody in it.
That's right. That's right.
The ones calling her Jezebel was the ones that had a Jezebel attitude about her.
Yes, yes, men and women.
Yeah, men.
Yeah,
Well, the men kind of act like Jezebel's man, they run.
Right.
yeah. Yeah,
Anytime problems come up when men run,
that's right. That's right. That's what he did.
oh yeah. Oh, I know I'm preaching on a lot of things.
That's good.
Takes a lot of things to become a leader.
Yes.
Takes a lot for people to trust you and listen to you.
That's the truth.
But now the most dangerous person in Moses' life is all of a sudden, they're not hiding him under the sink anymore. He's laying. Have you looked at the stuff them Egyptians build? Them dudes like their cat. They make a gold version of it.
They
Stick it in
did,
the room.
Yeah.
Moses is laying in the finest bassinets,
Yeah.
best silk. But she gets to thinking, I don't want to feed him whatever. I don't know what her options were. Camel milk. I don't know. But y'all need to go find me some little pregnant Hebrew woman and tell her I'll pay her good to come and nurse this baby. Moses' mommy trusts God. And now God is paying her
Yeah. Take care of her own.
to take care of her own kid.
That's
Got
right.
that right.
What do you call that? That you preach that as a
Praise the
term.
Lord.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Looks like the kid's getting noisy. I can't keep him hid no more. I know the neighbors smelled that diaper in here the other day, or they heard that the other day. I can't keep him anymore. I got to let him go. To now, the princess is paying you to do what you were struggling to do. In leadership, if you are floating toward your destiny, toward your ministry, God has a way of making your enemies provide for you on your way to where you're going.
Amen.
Praise the Lord.
Amen.
Yeah.
I believe that.
Learned how to praise in them holiness churches. I learned it in the meat room, but you ain't honest with yourself if you say they don't get the power of God moving in their praise services.
No.
It gets foggy in there.
It does.
That don't do you no good to bring in fog and get up and tell everybody in your congregation that there ain't no hope for you. You all going straight to hell.
That's right.
But now his mom is feeding him and Pharaoh is funding his education, his clothing, his growth, everything. But Moses is a mixed up person. He's born a Hebrew, but known as an Egyptian. You're going to be confusing to people. One crowd's going to call you one thing, another crowd's going to call you something else. This is good, church.
It is very good.
I'm over there. I'm over. Moses was hidden. He was abandoned. He was adopted. He was wealthy. He was poor.
Yeah.
Country people around here would say he's a Duke's mixture of everything.
Yeah.
But one day, if you go and read it, it says he grew. Get the child's mother, verse 8, to feed him, and then verse 10. And the child grew, and she brought Pharaoh's daughter. He became her son. She called his name Moses, verse 10. And the child grew, and she brought him unto Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son, and she called him Moses, for she said, because I drew him out of the water.
Kept him from drowning. Praise God.
Are leaders born? Are they developed?
Yeah.
Neither. They're drawn.
Amen.
Water.
Wow.
If you are called, God will draw you out and draw you out and draw you out and draw you out. And then you'll be in water, comfortable floating, and He'll draw you out.
Yeah.
Wow.
But then He grows. I'm going to close with this. She called him her son. That's important. Everybody then that knew of Moses, he was an Egyptian princess's boy. Royalty.
Dressed like them.
Dressed like them, looked like them, smelled like them, ate what they ate, lived where they slept where they
Did
slept.
everything like an Egyptian. He sure did.
And one day, he's looking and there's an Egyptian beating a Hebrew.
He's like,
Let me tell you the secret to your gifting and calling. The thing that gets, I'll put it redneck, the thing that gets in your crawl the most is what you're called to do. I can't stand to see people sick. Most of my prayer life is spent weeping. Lord, don't let me hinder healing. Don't let me stop the flow. Moses sees this Egyptian beating a Hebrew, and what was Moses calling and gifting an assignment? To set those Hebrews
Yeah.
free
Yes.
of Egyptian bondage.
Yeah.
And that rose up in him.
Yeah.
He kills the Egyptian servant. One of the biggest things leaders do wrong is they try to lead before it's time to lead.
Amen.
Nobody can say that setting that one little Hebrew slave free wasn't Moses' gifting, wasn't his calling, wasn't his assignment. It absolutely was. But when he tried to do that assignment before it was time, caused all kinds of mess.
Yeah, it did.
sure
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
He killed somebody over it.
It's good.
Yep. Still like,
Says a lot of you preachers, life is a mess. Because you're either ahead of God or you're behind Him.
Yeah.
Now Moses, Pharaoh hears that Moses has killed this Egyptian, saving a Hebrew. He puts a death sentence back on Moses. Now this is deep if you can take it. Close to teaching as I get us today. What you one time overcome, coming back We know a lot of people, he did good 5 years and never drunk no alcohol. He never took no pills. But now, he's drinking alcohol again. You know why that happens? See, Moses had that death sentence on him when he was born from Pharaoh.
Yeah.
But when he missed the timing of God,
Get back on.
that same curse came back.
Yeah,
on
that's
him.
good. Yeah.
Wow.
Everybody
That's
stand.
good.
You remember, Pastor said, your misery will birth your ministry. And you know, I said that in the Word of Faith Church. I don't want to hear you preach healing, and you've never been healed.
Amen.
I don't want you to tell me about a God of more than enough when you can't pay your bills.
Amen.
Right.
Right.
But I love hearing stories. You want to know what made Brother Hagin? 405 North College
Yeah,
Street
that's right.
in the city of McKinney, Texas. I was a little Baptist boy reading my grandma's Methodist Bible. I couldn't run and play like other little children. I'd been paralyzed, and I was so paralyzed that day, I was paralyzed from my neck up, and my mom had just bathed me, and I couldn't turn the pages on the Bible. But I finally got my hand over, and I got the Bible over to Mark the 11th chapter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His misery
Yeah.
turned into his greatest ministry. Don't hate the situations that you're in, but figure out how to float through that thing straight into what God's assigned you to do.
Yes.
Amen.
Yes.
Lord. And if it eats you up, you're called to it.
Yeah.
Misery will birth your ministry.
Yeah.
Learning to lead.
Wow.
I don't know if it's part one, if I'm going to do more, but that's the title today, Learning to Lead. Father, thank you
Thank you, Lord.
for this different word, this different flow, this different message. Let everyone that was in attendance here, let this word reverberate in their spirits. Everyone that views on Facebook Live today, let it minister the same power and anointing to them and those that watch the replay. In Jesus' name I pray, amen and amen.
Amen.
And offer baskets up here, guys.
Oh yeah, I forgot. I feel a lot, baby. You can't call me money hungry. Last time I forget to take off.